about you at all, but spring just gives me that kind of energy to where I'm like, okay, I am ready to just clean things up, get my shit together, refresh a little bit, my space, my business, just like so many different things. But maybe that's your systems or your content or your workflow, whatever that may be, to just make things a little bit lighter going into Q2. It's like in the 60s, the sun is shining, and like I just know that I have warm weather ahead of me, and so that makes me feel a little bit more energized and motivated to be like making these moves and the goals happen that I had set a few weeks ago. But also realizing that, as I said, the weather is getting awesome. Like everyone is starting to get a little bit more social, and I'm not wanting to spend a bunch of time sitting on my business and working and spending all my time in my office. As beautiful and as much as I love it, I want to be outside and spending time with my friends instead of being in here like I have been all winter. So if you also are in that space, then you're going to love these tips that I have for you today to just refresh your business and in your life for Q2, but also just for spring and like the renewed energy that we're having right now. The very first area that I always focus on first is just like cleaning things up, and especially your digital life. I think we forget a lot of times about all the clutter that we have living within the files and in our computers, which is crazy because I mean, as business owners, we think that we aren't working a bunch of hours, but we really are spending about 8 or so plus hours a day on our devices. So I firmly believe that that needs to be like a clean space that we are coming back to. So first thing, if you use Google Drive, go through your Google Docs, and if you have any like untitled documents, any random documents, go through, delete any that you don't need, and if it's a document that you have saved, that's just like untitled document, rename it to a proper name so you can find it in the future and actually save it away in a folder so it's not just in a big clutter of a bunch of mess. Same for your Canva graphics. If you have a bunch of Canva graphics that you've just like randomly made and it's like untitled design, or you have like templates that you've used of like Canva's design and it just like saves it as the name of the template, then rename it as something that like actually is beneficial for you to go back to. This next digital one is always what gets me, and I am super guilty of, and that is cleaning up my iPhone notes. I have such a habit of any like random thought I have, like business or personal, it just goes as a note in my iPhone. So go through the notes that you have on your phone and organize them. Delete ones that you don't need. And if you have a bunch of random content ideas in there, then you definitely need to move those into whatever content system you're using. So for my content, I use Notion. And so what I do is I go through my notes that I have, and then anything that's a content idea, I will actually put it in Notion and set it up as a content idea, because Notion is where I go to for when I'm doing my content creation process. I'm not thinking, oh, what was that one idea that I had 3 weeks ago at 7 p.m. while I was cooking dinner? No, I'm going into Notion for the actual process and the systems that I have there. Another area that I don't want you to forget about cleaning up digitally is your desktop. I don't know if you are someone who just like saves a bunch of random files to your desktop and then it gets super cluttered. Definitely take care of that. Delete anything that you don't need. And if it's anything that you do need, create an actual folder to save that in. Don't just have a cluttered desktop, because that does affect you if every time you open up your laptop, which is something that we are doing dozens of times a day, if you open it up and that's a mess, it's just gonna automatically having you feel messy about the work that you're going into. Have just everything be a clean slate. And that is the overarching thing to cleaning up all of these things digitally, is if you go into the space and it feels nice and clean and organized, you're gonna have such a different vibe than in the back of your mind thinking the whole time like, oh my God, this is such a mess. How did I let it get like this? And now I'm doing this thing and it's just making it even worse. And just pile on top of it. No, take 30 minutes and just clean it out. Moving on from that, this whole next section of my recommendations is you need to reset your environment and your vibe. And following up on what I just said, make yourself a fresh, new, cute wallpaper. This is something that I do with like the change of different holidays and different seasons. I have a wallpaper that I do for the Halloween time, one for the Thanksgiving time, one for Christmas. I have a Valentine's Day one. I have a spring one. I have a summer one. I have a Leo season one. If I just look at the same thing every day, it's just just not inspiring. It just doesn't feel good. Aesthetics are a big thing for me, and I have just noticed and found that if things that I'm using all the time, if it just looks boring and just like repetitive, it's not something that I get excited and like fun to look at. So update your wallpaper. You can do that on your desktop, you can do it on your phone, you can do it on your iPad, whatever it is that you're using. I also love to make a new playlist with each season as well. So I have a fun little cozy playlist that I do for the fall time, one that I do for winter time, and then for spring vibes as well, because I just feel like if I'm listening to the same stuff all the time, everything just starts to feel so monotonous. And that also is an overarching theme here of why I like to do these resets with different seasons and with different quarters, is because why I went away from a traditional 9 to 5 office job life is because I didn't like the monotony and like the same dayness of it. And I actually think being a business owner is really similar to that. There's a lot of things in the daily life of being a business owner that are the same. And so instead of feeling the same way like I did when I was at the office job, I want to take that into my own control and think, okay, so since I work for myself, since I work from home, what are the things that I can control to make this feel like it isn't the same and isn't monotonous? And so that is changing up my environment and changing up the vibe. And even if you aren't someone who likes to make your own playlists, like I love looking on YouTube at different playlists and things. You can find like a springtime ambiance playlist there that you can listen to, but it's just switching up the different things that you're hearing and like the different things that are in your environment. I also do a big desk refresh. I clean my desk every week regardless, but like if you aren't someone who keeps up with the tidiness of your desk, definitely like do a wipe down. Go through the papers and things that you have here. If you still need to have them, keep them, or if you can organize that stuff, organize that as well. And I love having fresh flowers on my desk as well, especially in the springtime. Get yourself some cute little tulips. I took mine down because it would block the camera, but I am a big advocate of having fresh flowers in your house and in your space because I think that also like has an energy that gives you a bit of like an uplifting vibe. Yes, these are all aesthetic things, but I really do think it impacts how you show up to work every day. Okay, for this next area of things that I reset and like to look into, this is more about planning ahead for the quarter and for the next few weeks and the next few months. So get yourself somewhere cozy, have a fun drink so you can sit down and really feel excited to do this. And that is planning out your capacity, because you can't make all these goals and all these plans of what you want to do in Q2 or any season or whatever it is that you're resetting for if you don't know that you actually have the capacity and the space to be able to make it happen. And I think that's something that a lot of us miss when we're goal setting is we think, oh my gosh, I want to post 500 times on Instagram, like I don't know, something crazy, or I want to book 5 new clients. Okay, well, do you actually have the time, like, to have 5 new clients? Do you have the time to create 500 new Instagram posts or whatever it is? And so, firstly, think before you even start making goals, is think about what actually is going on in my life over these next few weeks or over this time period that I'm considering and resetting and planning for. Look at your calendar over the next 3 months, do it for business and personal because that affects what we're doing, and map around life first and then plan your business. That's how I do things because that's just how I've created. My business revolves around my life. My life doesn't revolve around my business. I normally have a lot of trips and things going on, especially in the springtime. However, this is literally the first year where we don't have anything planned at all in the spring. So for me, that's really exciting because that means I have more capacity. Like last year, I was in the US for 4 weeks in the springtime. I took a girls trip to meet up with like biz besties that I've had for years. Like there were so many different things that I did. I had a branding photo shoot. Like I had so many different things that were already booked to where I knew, okay, Anna, there's not really a whole lot of other things that you can add to your plate right now because you already have all these other commitments that are on your calendar. This year, that is different. So I have that mindset and that angle to where when it comes time for me to plan out the goals and the things that I want to do, I know that I actually have the capacity to make it happen. But with that being said, I also realize that, okay, I don't want to be spending all of my time in my office. I don't want to be working really late into the evenings. I don't want to be working on the weekends, all these different things. Like I want to be able to enjoy walks in the mornings, things like that. And so I also keep that in mind of when I'm planning my capacity and looking ahead at things, what are my actual hours of productivity in the day going to look like? So whatever you have to do to figure out what that looks like for you, you're looking through your personal calendar, looking through your business calendar, seeing what projects you already have booked, and then go from there. This next section, of course, is all about content, and I wouldn't be your content fairy godmother if we didn't have a content reset in here. And so depending on whatever goals it is that you've set for this quarter or these next few weeks, content is probably going to play a major part of that. And I think we spend a lot of time planning ahead for content and not a lot of time looking back through and thinking, okay, what worked, what didn't work, things like that. And so to start out, I want you to go back through your Q1 content. Look through that and see, okay, what performed really well, what didn't perform well, what surprised you, what content you really liked to make, and what content you really didn't like to make. And from there, put a repurposing plan in place. If there was content that performed really well, aim to make more content like that, or just completely repurpose and reuse that content. If there was content that you didn't enjoy making or that didn't perform well, look at it from a different angle of, okay, how could I have made this into a piece of content that I had fun making, or how is there a different angle that I can do at this? Think of it from a reevaluation angle now, to where, okay, I made this as a carousel, but actually I probably should have done this as a reel, or vice versa. Like maybe you had a talking reel and you like touched on so many different topics and you're like, there's no way people could have grasped this in all these moments, and that's why I got 2 likes. Okay, so maybe can you make that as a carousel and you'll have more fun doing it, and you already have all the framework right there for you. So think of, yeah, like any missed opportunities that you might have had from your content because you were just like too busy in the moment making it. Now we're actually creating a plan to go forward with that you aren't going to be starting from scratch from. That is the other key thing here is, like I've said, a lot of people, when they're planning out content, they come up with an entirely new plan instead of thinking back through things that they've already done or that they've already had. And with this, I bet you already have a dozen or so different ideas that you can work with right off the bat instead of having to start completely from scratch. Also, reevaluate through if there's any long form pieces of content that you created but didn't repurpose. That could be your emails, it could be blog posts, it could be videos, it could be podcast episodes. So maybe you put out a podcast episode every other week, but you didn't repurpose it at all and you didn't send it out to your email list or anything like that. Work with those pieces of content and get that pushed out there. Also, when you're looking back through the content that you've shared in the past few weeks of Q1, find opportunities of, like I said, what you can reuse, but also what can you expand on. So maybe if there was something that you talked about and your audience really enjoyed it, what else could you share further on that topic? Or if there was something that you shared maybe in just like a static post or a really short carousel or anything that like got a brief moment, but you're like, man, okay, so I actually only talked about this one time in January. I feel like I was thinking about this a lot more. Maybe I need to spend some more time and energy giving that a platform. So now, from considering all these different angles, all these different pieces of content, you can then put together like a visibility plan based on the goals that you've set in your business or what you want to do with your business and with your platforms and in your content these next few weeks within to Q2, but also based on your capacity as well, because maybe you are someone who has a lot that's going to be happening in these next few months. And you're like, yeah, I definitely don't have a bunch of time to be filming a new podcast episode every week or sitting down and filming a bunch of talking reels, whatever that may be. You can put together a plan and a visibility plan based on this content that you have that you can work from. Yeah, honestly, at this point, you should not be starting from scratch. You should be working with what you already have. And this is just looking back from what you did in Q1. This isn't anything to do with things that you did last year, the year before, anything like that. And this entire process of auditing your content, finding what works, repurposing the different angles, turning it into an entire plan. That is exactly what I do in my mini mind service. It is a content repurposing audit, and I have so much fun doing these because I get to use so many different sides of my like repurposer brain. I love creating the beautiful branded Notion board. Honestly, the Notion board that you get is worth the price of the entire repurposing audit. Just creating like an organized system for my clients, but also getting to use my repurposer brain and see so many different things that they missed, and getting to turn that into a plan to where maybe they thought that they weren't going to be able to show up on social media at all over the next 4 weeks or 5 weeks because they had different things going on in their business and in their life. And they're like, okay, I don't want to ghost or whatever that is, or I don't have a bunch of time to be yelling at ChatGPT every Sunday because I want to be going to my kid's soccer game. There's all these different things that are popping up now in our lives, especially in the springtime. And content is 100% something that always just falls down to the bottom of the list. But if you have a true plan and a true strategy to work with, and especially if you aren't starting from scratch, it is so much easier to keep that consistency and to keep growing and building your brand. I do it all for you within 7 days. You have fully mapped out content ideas where I'm literally saying to you, hey, here's a podcast episode where I pulled this from. Here's the transcript from it. Here's the line that you said at 1 minute and 10 seconds, and it went until 2 minutes and 30 seconds. You said this whole thing. That is going to be your carousel, and use this for slide 1, use this for the hook, all these different things. I fully break it down for you, and I do that for 3 months worth of content. So you literally have it all on a silver platter for you. That way, when you go to create your content, you have a super organized, beautiful, branded space to go to. You know exactly where to find what you're looking for. And you have a framework right there in front of you to where you don't need to waste a bunch of time with AI and trying to come up with things completely from scratch when you already know you have a lot of content that you've already made that you can work with. I actually only open this service up quarterly because I do it as a 3-month content bank, but I actually haven't even offered this since the fall of last year, because with looking at the capacity for my life, I had a lot of travel at the end of the year and even at the beginning of this year as well. I am so happy to be getting back into these mini mind content repurposing audits. So I just have 2 spaces that I'm going to be offering this for. So if you would like one, definitely get in touch. I will have all the details below, and book one of those spaces before they're gone, because after this I won't be offering them until it'll be like mid to end June. So if you would love to have your content audited by a content repurposer and to have a plan fully done for you and back in your inbox this time next week, then 100% get yourself a mini mine. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I appreciate the time and energy also that you're spending on refreshing your business, because you 100% deserve it. Your business deserves it as well, because I just think spring is just such a good time to reset, because everything just starts to feel like a little bit lighter and a little bit airier, and I think your business should feel like that too. Let me know below if you have anything really fun happening in the spring. I here am looking forward to having wine season open back up in Germany. This is when a lot of the vineyards start to open back up, and they do like these red wine hikes. There's a lot of different wine trails that open up. So I know that I will be having a very vineyardy spring. So with that in mind, I'm actually very happy that I don't have any travel yet booked, because springtime in Germany is a beautiful time to be here. Let me know on Instagram or in the comments below once you finish your spring refresh. Would love to cheer you on and hear all about how that experience was. But until the next one, let me know if there's anything else that you would like to hear from me in future videos. Other than that, I will see you very soon. Bye.